Hi flower farmers. Theresa with Garden Party Flower Farm and with Open Food Network Canada, and thanks to Open Food Network Canada for hosting this. Last night I sat in the bathtub and just bawled, just cried. My to-do list is far beyond what I'm going to accomplish. I'm so far behind. I have so many things that I wanted to get done that it's really, I don't even know where to start or where to set priorities. And I was just at the end of my tether. And then I said to myself, there's no crying in flower farming. Pull yourself together. For a month I've been wanting to do this video on starting the season right and preventing burnout. And I haven't been able to get to it. Well, today we're going to do it. So what are the things we can do at the beginning of the season to really set us off on the right foot and to prevent later burnout? Now, I don't have any expert answers. I have the benefit of being able to talk to a number of flower farmers during the plug pickup that we just had, and everybody feels the same, that they're behind the 8 ball and that there's so many layers of things to get done. We don't know what's happening with weather. It's been so insane. So I'm going to share some of the strategies that ended up coming up in my discussions with those farms. Now, I had hoped that when I did this video, I would have a much nicer appearance. I'd have a haircut. I'd have a backdrop full of lovely tulips, and I don't have any of that. So this is good enough push on. What you see is what you got here. So the first strategy to think about is the easiest, and it's the one I always overlook. Just breathe. Just take a deep breath. Slow down. Take a break. Walk away for a few minutes. You know, my daughter, bless her, during the plug pickup, because I was so stressed, she said, Mom, go have a coffee, like 15 minutes. Go sit. And you know what I said? I said, no, I don't have time. Now, what kind of a business do I run if I don't have 15 minutes to walk away? Of course I would have had time. 15 minutes was not going to make or break the plug sale. 15 minutes was not going to make or break anything. And yet I was so wrapped up that I couldn't possibly take a break and just walk away. Take a break and walk away and breathe. There's this little place I go to. It's away from the noise on the farm, really, and I don't overlook flowers. Just a little place in the bush, and if I sit there, it's quiet, and I can hear the birds, and I can sip a coffee, and I don't look at all the work to be done. And now I don't sit there long, just 10 or 15 minutes, but it makes a difference. And when I'm there, I breathe. I breathe really deeply. I used to be a singer, and my coach would always say, breathe deep so that you feel it in the lower back, all the way down. Do that 3 or 4 times. If you're standing, ground your feet to the ground. Let that energy of the soil come in. Take a deep breath. I had another voice coach who used to say, breathe so that you feel it in your, so you know what I mean. Breathe deep. And it is amazing to me how that simple act completely resets you. And now you're ready to seriously think about what I'm going to do with all those things on my to-do list. So what are we going to do with them? Well, the first thing is you're going to ditch out of something. You know what? In flower farming, we control very little. I talked to this serial entrepreneur about what we do as flower farmers recently, and he could not believe that we're trying to run businesses where we don't control anything. The weather, really, when you first on your land, you don't control soil, and even as you start building soil, it takes decades to do. And you don't control pests being blown in from elsewhere. You don't control all the things that determine how wonderful your flowers are. So that said, grab onto the things you do control, because you do control what you plan to do, and you can change that. I am not proud of it, but it wasn't my choice. I come from a poker playing family, and when my mom would play, she would say, in for a penny, in for a pound. And she usually lost. And my father would pull me aside, I think secretly hoping that I would one day be a poker genius. And he would say, Terry, only person in the world who called me Terry, you control what you control in this game, because most things you don't control. You don't know what card you're going to get. You don't know that. It's too unpredictable. What you can control is what you do with the money. And you never throw good money after bad money. If you think things are going sour, they're going sour, ditch out of it. There's another hand coming. There's another game coming. There's another day coming. And on a farm, I think it's like that. You've got another year coming. You don't have to do the thing you were going to do this year. You can ditch. There's no shame in ditching. No, you're not letting anyone down. And even if you are, people tell me, set boundaries. It's about you. It's really about you. So for me, I thought I was going to launch this amazing, wowing, pick your own farm this year. Okay, I'm not. I'm too far behind to do it. I'm going to launch next year. I'm going to do a few test balloons of some pick your own days this year, but I'm not going to try to launch the big thing. And as soon as I made that decision, whoosh, a whole lot of the stress just left, because I don't have to try to continue with that plan right now. I haven't seeded so many things. I haven't seeded amaranthus. I haven't even seeded Orlaya. I haven't seeded all my marigolds. I haven't seeded lots of stuff. Celosia, things I count on, I haven't seeded. I can ditch out of them. I don't have to grow every single thing. There's no rule that says I have to have celosia every year. I'll be fine without it. So those seeds will keep. There will be another year. It's fine to ditch out of things. Identify some things you're not going to do and take them right off your to-do list. Simplest way to try to avoid some of the burnout of the season. Because there's this saying, you never plant a garden bigger than what your wife can manage. Except you're the garden planter and the wife, I bet. So don't do more than what you could do. You know what, if a tray of seedlings goes on the compost pile now, that's good. Think of all the time that seedling has saved. Better they go on the compost pile now than you try to manage them throughout May and June, only to realize you can't possibly manage that much stuff and they've been overtaken by weeds and you have to get rid of them then anyway. Get rid of them now. So ditch out of something. Now we need to set priorities with the other stuff we have remaining. So what have I got remaining on my farm? And I bet it's similar to you. Tons of stuff that hasn't been planted, either because the weather or because it's been too early anyway. But I've got a greenhouse full of plug trays of different sizes with all kinds of plugs. Things that I seeded myself are there. Seeds that I thought I would seed myself are sitting there too. Weeds are starting everywhere. They're high in the greenhouse. In a week they'll be big outside. I really have this area that needs major soil building. So composting and some manure and some cover crops and so forth. Big area. I have all this pruning I have to do because I have a lot of raspberries and the willows have to be cut down so they can grow nice tall shoots for next year. I certainly have tons of mulching to do because I grow a lot of perennials, and if you don't keep on top of mulching perennials, then really you just have to deal with more weeds. So I have all these things to do. And how is it that I would set priorities? Well, everyone sets priorities differently depending on your situation. I'm going to share how I set mine and my thinking behind it, just in case that's useful for you, but you may have different thinking. So I came up with pull, plant, promote as my priorities. So let me explain that. Tulips and daffodils, that's the pull. Right now, my tulips are ready to be harvested. I'm stressed even just knowing that I'm not harvesting them because if the sun comes out, luckily it's not very sunny right now, but if the sun comes out, they're all going to blow open. I've got to get them in the cooler. I'm going to sell them next weekend. So if I don't pull those tulips, if I go out and plant, which I also need to get done, but if I plant instead of pulling tulips, then I'm just saying goodbye to that money that I spent on those bulbs. And a farmer who lost all her tulips to the rain, said to me, yes, go pull your tulips. You've got them. I don't even have them. So I took that to heart. Yes, get the tulips and daffodils if you still have daffodils. I still have daffodils. Get those in. Get them in the cooler. And then you can move on to your next priority. Don't be starting other priorities until you do that, because that is sunk money. It's already spent money. You've got to sell that. So that's my first priority. And in fact, as soon as I'm done this, that's where I'm going. I'm going to pull my tulips and get them in the cooler. Plant. Yeah, you got to do some planting. We're at the first week in May. A lot of things that should have been in by now, in my case, are not in yet. What would be my priority with planting? Well, I think everyone weighs these priorities differently, and it's perfect planting weather right now. But you can't do it all at once. You can't get everything in at once. So how do you decide? Anything in a small plug tray, like a 285 plug tray, you got to give that attention today, right after the tulips. I'm going to bump those up. Oh, you say, well, why don't you plant those out? Well, they're a little small. I could, and I have sometimes, but I have so many other things that are bigger. I'm going to plant them out before the little guys. The little guys I'm going to pump up and bump up, sorry, because then I just bought myself 2 weeks of time with them. As soon as I take those 285s, I'll put them into a 72 tray, or really any other size tray. I just bought time. That's what you're doing. In 2 weeks, I don't know what will happen. It might be really hot, might be really cold. But for 2 weeks now, I don't have to worry about them. I've got 2 weeks to do all my other stuff. Then I'll get to them. So don't think about bumping things up as taking your time. In fact, it's buying you time. I know it seems counterintuitive because you're handling the plug twice. You're going to handle that plug a whole bunch of times. Better that you handle it twice that way by bumping it up, instead of the second handling being dumping the tray on the compost pile, because that's what's going to happen if we get into a heat wave, or you forget to water because you're too busy doing everything else. And I'm not accusing you of this. I do this. Believe me, I've killed more full trays of plugs than you have. I know I have. So I'm saying to myself, it's not a waste of time to bump things up. I'm going to bump those little guys up first, and then they're kind of taken care of. Then I'm going to plant the other guys. What other guys am I going to plant? Obviously the cool things and the things that need those long days. So the snapdragons, asters, and lisianthus are the top three that come to me. That's the planting I'm going to do. I don't know how to shift priorities among those three things. I guess it's whatever you need the most of. I've already got some snaps in, so I'm probably going to prioritize, and some lizzies in. I'm probably going to prioritize the asters so that at least I have something in of everything, in case the weather turns and I run out of time, or I get sick and I run out of time. I mean, anything can happen, right? Some things I'm not going to rush to do. I've got some things in quite large plug trays, some perennials. They're a little more forgiving. Perennials, you know, even if you forget to water them a little bit, and I'm sure you never do that, but should you happen to forget to water a tray and the top dies, in a perennial, those roots are still good, most likely, unless you've really forgotten a lot, but they're probably going to come back. So perennials are way more forgiving than the annuals when they're seedlings. So that's okay. You can deprioritize those things while you prioritize the other things. This is when you also make some decisions about what you're going to ditch out of. I'm on the fence about Orlia because I didn't seed Orlia. I could direct seed it. Do I bother? Do I just say I'm not having Orlia this year? I'm still not totally sure. I'll see how my first two priorities go before I decide on that. But yes, my rule is bump up tiny guys and then plant based on what you've already got in and what has to go in yet. And don't quite worry about the perennials yet. Yes, you're going to have to get to them quickly, but not today. We're setting priorities for the next few days here, right? In the next week. I know some of you don't work on the farm every day, but so let's just say for a week that you need to get these things done. And then my third priority is promote. And my rationale there is, because I've done this in the past, I put all my energy into doing the growing, and I don't bother to tell anybody that I've got flowers. So they look beautiful, but there's no sale. So it doesn't really make much sense, does it? So I need to get my newsletter out to people. I need to get my Instagram posts going. I see that you've already done yours. Good for you. I haven't. It's one of the reasons I was crying in the bathtub. So I'm going to do my next installment of this is going to be on social media, because really I hate it and I have quite a number of things to rant about. So I'll get to that. But I need to do my promotion. Mother's Day's coming. It's perfect timing. Get those tulips picked, pictures taken, do some Instagram. So if I don't do that and I spend my time going to the other things on my list, then it's kind of a waste of all the other things on my list, because I am in this to actually make money and to sell things. So these things are not being done. Excuse me. The weeding, the seeding, the soil building, all these things, they're on my list. They're as much at the top as everything else. I've got all these things to do. I'm just not focusing on them this week. I'm going to start my next week with them. So that means I have to put them out of my mind and not get too distracted by them, which for me is really hard because I get distracted by those things. So I'm going to put them out of my mind. It's not that they're not important. It's just not this week. I'm sorry. Celebrate when you've done it. That's the other strategy. Pat yourself on the back. Take the brag. I mean, you have to. You just have to. Lay in bed and say, this week I did those 3 priorities. Or I did 2 of them. Or I've got 1.5 of them done. Always, always celebrate what you've got done more than what you have to do. I'm not saying I manage to do this all the time, because I really am a person who does nothing but makes lists and sees all the things that have to happen. But that's why I was sitting in the bathtub and crying. So don't do that. Look at these poppies. They're gorgeous. I did that. I grew these poppies, right? You have to feel good about something that you've done. And it's not a false kind of thing. It's real. I really did grow these poppies, right? I really did get through half of the Lysianthus planting yesterday. I really did get through that. So it's really important to celebrate the wins and to focus on the glass being half full. In my case, the grass needs cutting too. Okay, the glass is half full though, and there's wins. There are things that we've accomplished. Let's be clear about them, and let's not dwell too much on what has to happen. And finally, it's so helpful to talk it through. Even just this, saying it out loud to a camera, has been very helpful to me. It's helped reaffirm that I can control something, that I can be in control, that there's some decisions I can make. And it can reaffirm that there are other people struggling with the very same thing and that you are not alone. This was the beauty of having a plug sale and having people come pick things up, because as the people said, at least you have tulips to pull. You know, we can laugh together. We can commiserate that none of us are controlling what's going on around us. And most of us, it's not just farming, right? We have lives too. Of all the crazy things, I have family member coming from out of town for Mother's Day. Why? Why would I have done that? And my bathroom, you wouldn't believe my bathroom. I should have taken a picture. No, I couldn't possibly show you a picture. You know, the baseboard, the bottom where the baseboard meets the floor, why does it get so dirty there? It's so filthy. Oh, I can't even think. And I already mentioned my hair. I can just, oh gosh, there's so many things aside from the farm. My basement is filled with cardboard from the plug sale. Just a person came to change something on the water softener, and he just walked downstairs. He was just like, what kind of a place is this? Am I like a hoarder? A cardboard hoarder? Okay, thank you for letting me talk this through with you and for letting me laugh a little bit with you. Really get started on the right foot, celebrate those wins, breathe, be brutal setting priorities, ditch out of things because you can, be powerful and make those decisions. These are all ways to set yourself up for the season and start to prevent burnout. And I also just want to highlight as I close that we've been having, or will be having, a monthly kind of open discussion. And if you go to the Open Flower Network page, which I think most of you know by now, down on the calendar, you'll see it here. It's always the third Wednesday, 1, 2, 3. So the next one is the 21st. And I know last time there was a link problem. I'm going to get that fixed. And I'll also post on the Canada Fresh Flower Farmers Facebook page. But these are kind of open times to talk about whatever you want to talk about. And so I'm sort of thinking really that you can bring whatever you want to talk about. Third week of May, it might be good for us to talk about what tulips worked, what tulips didn't work maybe, because we'll all be putting in our tulip orders. Good to touch base on ranunculus. How's it going with that? I don't even want to think about that right now. But we can talk about anything. It's a kind of an open circle. Whoever comes, you bring the topic. I think I'd like to talk about tulips, what tulips are the ones I should be ordering again for next year, what people's experience are. But that's just me. I will host, and if you bring something different to talk about, we'll talk about that. And I hope to see you there. And I want to thank you really from the bottom of my heart for letting me rant to you about my bathroom and my hair and my crying. And I hope that I hope it makes you laugh a little bit and sets you up for a fantastic season. Thanks.